So we have been travelling around Australia now for 400 days. We really enjoy the full drive tracks, the remote sort of camping.
There's some great times, some not so great times, and some bad times. Okay, so we've got Memory Cove. We really like Memory Cove. That was a really
it's
cool
amazing.
spot. Didn't do it. I don't know, it had a wrong vibe for me. We got out the car, we pulled up, and this spider landed on the window.
Yeah, I jackknifed the camper early on and cracked the bumper. We had the cap on the front of our camper pop off one day, and 3 poles fell out while we were driving. And yeah, so our biggest failure though is the inner guard cracking.
Want to have a day where we do nothing, we can have a day that we're doing nothing. We don't have anywhere to be, or like, you know, sometimes like you get back, you're at home and there's always these commitments and you've got to be here and you've got to be there and it's all on time. We don't have that.
So of course we looked at getting a caravan. We were at the limits on the D-Max.
Cooper, most of them, well, not
Yeah,
most
Cooper.
of them. If it's a person, it involves Cooper pretty much. He, in Kimber, was on the jumping pillow with Aaron.
Good day. Welcome to a bit of a mini series. So we have been travelling around Australia now for 400 days, about 13 months or something. We thought we'd sit down, do a couple of videos covering sort of where we've been, so on and so forth. So if you haven't been following along before, I'm Aaron, this is my wife Sarah, and we've got 2 little boys that are in the camper trailer back there watching something, so we've got a few minutes of peace. And yeah, we have been on the road since September 2022, so coming up to 450 days now. If you've been following along, you will have seen our YouTube channel. We're releasing weekly videos. They are quite behind. We're probably
Like 6 months maybe.
6 months, you reckon?
So it'd be,
maybe not that far.
yeah, it would be June. Yeah, it's 6 months.
Yeah,
6 months.
okay.
So hopefully we can catch up over like the Christmas period, because we won't be filming too much, and there was 7 weeks that we didn't film lots of in September and October, so we might be only 1 or 2 months behind by like February maybe, hopefully.
So yeah, we're going to split this video into 3 parts. Part 1, which is this one, we're going to cover about us, our favourite places, least favourite places, you know, what's gone wrong, what we love about the travel lifestyle, any injuries or sketchy moments that we've had, and how our travel setup is going, which is
And what we
behind
would
us.
change.
Yeah, what we would change. So part 2, next video, will be all the costs. So fuel, food, car, maintenance, camping costs, any unexpected stuff, and how it's all sort of split. And we travel, we're pretty careful with our money.
We're frugal.
Let's say that.
No.
And part 3, just a Q&A. So we asked on social media a little while back. There's been quite a few questions that have come through. So we'll go through all that in each video. I don't know whether we'll release these
I don't know how we will.
in between videos or something.
Somehow.
But yeah, so we're a couple of hours north of Sydney now. In 3 days we fly out to Perth. We've got 5 weeks in Perth, catching up with friends and family, which should be absolutely awesome. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of them for 13 months.
Longer, a bit longer, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if there's any information that you guys are chasing that we don't cover in this video, we have been running a full driving blog, forwarddrivingaustralia.com, for about 14 years now. We're not interested in selling anything, it's just information. So much stuff on there, tech tips, places that we've been. The full itinerary is there with all of a map with links to places that we've been, and yeah, everything that you need is there. Otherwise, leave a comment or a question and we'll get back to you. Let's get going, shall we?
Finally.
So about us, I have a laptop sitting here. There's too much stuff that we'll forget otherwise. So we're sort of looking at that for information. So we've kind of covered, yeah, Sarah, myself, and 2 little boys, 4 and 7 in the camper back there. And we're travelling in our Isuzu D-Max behind us. That's a 2016 model. I sort of built that up early on, about 6 years ago now, and modded it to suit our sort of style of travel. It's just ticked over 113,000 Ks. And the camper is a hybrid camper, or as Lifestyle call it, a hyper camper. That's a 2018 Recon R2. We picked that up in Perth second-hand off owners that had upgraded to the next model. It has a queen bed at the back above the kitchen, and then 2 bunks at the front, and really not much else in there. It's pretty small.
It's tiny. There's like 5 drawers for clothes.
Yeah, it's not big at all. So we will go into all that. The camper is fully Australian built, so the Lifestyle Recon range is all Aussie built, and it is one of the lighter and cheaper Aussie built hybrids on the market. So the trip itinerary, you can cover that. Where did we left from Perth?
So we left from Perth in September, and we drove like in I think 2 days to South Australia, and we spent maybe like 4 months nearly in South Australia, and explored coast and inland and yeah, lots of it. And then we left South Australia and went to Victoria for like 2.5 months maybe. Did lots in the higher country, really enjoyed that and want to go back. But then we had to make it to Wagga for Easter because we were meeting family there, and we had a few days there, and then we went straight from Wagga to Rockhampton in 3 days, and then travelled up, did Airlie Beach all the way out to the Cape, and then we came back down and slowly made our way down. Did 6 months in Queensland, and then have just made our way into New South Wales recently, and just started doing a little bit, but haven't done too much.
Yeah. So yeah, our style of travel, obviously with the blog and that, we really enjoy the full drive tracks, the remote sort of camping, away from the crowds. We're not that keen on the big 4 caravan parks, or caravan parks in general. They're just not our place to be. They're too expensive for one, but even if cost was out of the equation, they're just too busy, too much hustle and bustle,
and so much no space. Like they're
Yeah.
tiny. Like the kids love to explore, and when we're at camp, like they want a creek to be able to play in, or they want some where they can dig dirts or move rocks or use branches to build stuff. They don't want this little tiny patch where you don't want to wreck the grass, or you don't want to be noisy or whatever. There's a couple of caravan parks we've found on the lap that have been really good, and they are more your bushy ones, your openly sort of space, like the unpowered section where you can choose your spot.
No designated spots.
And yeah, relatively cheap, but we don't really go there very often.
Yeah. So yeah, we try and avoid the big towns and cities where we can. We didn't even go into Melbourne. We just skirted all the way around the outside of it. Not our scene. We're just not interested.
We're not on the lap to go to all the nice food or winery places. That's not our thing really. We just like to explore the natural environment.
So you'll find us, remote camps, national parks, private properties like this one that we're at now, where there's no one around, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mentioned earlier we have a map. We'll put that in the description below, and that also covers places we've been to in WA. So I don't know, there must be about 300 or 400 places on there now that we've been to. So yeah, in the last 400 days we've done 32,000 Ks roughly, which is about 80 kilometres a day, or 560 a week. So not moving very quickly. We didn't have much of a schedule. There were a few places, as Sarah said, Wagga and Airlie Beach, that we had to be, and now Sydney to fly out.
Mainly for seeing family and stuff.
But other than that, there's not really been places that we had to be at any particular time frame. So
yeah, we don't book in advance. We sort of try to have an idea where we're going to be for the next week, or the spots we want to stay at, but we don't know how long we want to stay at spots, so often we don't book ahead until we need to go there, unless it's a popular spot, but we haven't really had any that we've done that for on the East Coast.
Nah, not really. So how's it been? You give your perspective first. Let's hear this.
So there's some great times, some not so great times, and some bad times. But the amazing times are often when you're exploring and you're just seeing amazing things. The bad times are just normally when you're in each other's head, and you're in maybe when it's hot. We find the kids get cranky. We have less patience. So yeah, it's often that's when the bad times are just, it's just normal like kid stuff, but because you're so close and you can't get away from them or can't send them away, I think it just sometimes feels worse. And so
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, there seems to be this mantra, and I think a lot of the travelling families on social media don't do any favours by sharing these amazing moments and leaving out everything that goes on behind the scenes. There seems to be this perception that, you know, you hitch up and drive off into the sunset and all your problems fade away and, you know, life is happily ever after, but that's so not the case. If you have issues at home, you'll bring them with you on the road, and life on the road in many regards is more challenging. Like, you don't have access to all the luxuries, you don't have the space to get away from each other, you're not physically separated for jobs and all that sort of stuff. You are quite literally in each other's face 24/7.
Especially when you're in a little camper.
Yeah, and so our main difficult times stem from the kids, definitely. Anyone who travels with kids,
they don't want to go out and do much most of the time. Like, at the beginning, they actually enjoyed walks, but now it's like a bit of a challenge to get them to do walks sometimes, and there's like whinging and, you know.
Well, I don't know, we found you kind of get used to it.
It's not so exciting anymore.
You don't take things, they're not as amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you don't have kids, I promise you can't understand this. You really cannot understand how difficult it is. And, you know, sorry if that sounds a bit blunt, but that's from perspective. So, yeah, lots of highs, lots of lows, and probably less sort of mediocre, boring times that you have at home where, you know, life is just, whatever.
Yeah, when you're sitting down having a cup of tea or a coffee or you drink or whatever, like it's normally in a nice like campsite, and it's just, it's nice. Yeah.
So, where do we like to go and camp at? I think we've sort of covered that, but yeah, off the beaten track, avoiding the caravan parks, big cities. We do visit them from time to time, but we like the quiet, cheaper sites. And we love the outdoor lifestyle. That's, you know, one of the reasons why we've got this hybrid behind us. We like to be outdoors. You know, we come out, we have our food outside. Obviously there's times where you don't want to be doing that, which we'll go into later on. But anything outdoors we love. Hiking, swimming, you know, spearfishing, four-wheel driving, that sort of stuff. That's our jam. And yeah, I've covered no real itinerary, so we basically just sort of float around as we want, aside from a few little commitments that we've had in the last year. So, and that in itself is an interesting one. In WA, we did a lot of trips where we would pre-book campsites, and there's places where you have to do that. You don't have a choice, like around
Exmouth.
Broome, Exmouth, yeah, that sort of area. You don't have a choice, and if you don't book it, you don't get to stay there. So, but we have since discovered that if you don't need to book, life is so much nicer. Like, you just sort of float around. If you come to a place that you like, you stay a bit longer. If you don't like it, see you later the next day. You know, there's no...
Or if the weather's going to be bad. Like, that's one thing in WA. Like, we'd book a campsite, be it like on the beach, that would be amazing, but we'd get like a week of wind, and it was like...
Yeah, and you're stuck there because you paid the fees and you've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So, and on that, we probably move on average every 2 days, I would say. If it's really good, we'll stay 3 nights. Very rare to spend longer than that anywhere. And then we've done quite a few overnighters as well. We don't travel very far, so an overnighter for us is quite relaxing in the fact that you might only be driving in the morning and you're there by lunchtime.
And by morning it would be like half an hour or an hour maybe.
Yeah, and then you've got the whole day to chill at camp. And if there's nothing amazing there, like, you're quite ready to pack up the next day.
Yeah, there's no walks to go and do or anything to look at in the actual area. If it's just a nice camp spot, just to chill for the afternoon is quite acceptable.
Yeah. So, why the big lap?
Why the big lap?
Why did we go, babe?
Just to escape the rat race and, like, city life, I guess.
To put it on hold for a while anyway. We'll be going back to that.
We'll have to go back eventually sometime.
No, we were both pretty worn out. I had a reasonably high stress job. I don't know how Oliver went from 0 to 5 in bang, gone. And I always sort of thought, like, I don't want to look back when they're older and think, we had an opportunity. Why did we not go and make good use of it? Spend lots of time with our family, you know, show the kids what life is all about. And also a primary thing for us was to try and grow the blog. That's always been, well, it was a hobby when I started it, a bit of a passion project, and it kind of grew into, you know, reasonable full-time work. So yeah, we wanted to get out there, and our sort of mission, I suppose, is to just help people travel by Australia. To travel Australia by four-wheel drive. And you know, we're not interested. We don't work with brands. We don't do sponsored stuff. We don't flog products off discount codes. You know, all that sort of shenanigans. We just share our experiences. You know, if we've had a product that's awesome, we share that. If it's not awesome, we share that too. And I don't know, to me that's far more useful than when you look at a product that someone is talking about and you don't know whether they've been gifted it, you don't know how they've used it, you don't know if they're getting money under the table to talk about it. And you know, you call me a bit of a skeptic, but I've been in that industry. I know what that stuff is like, and it doesn't sit that well with us. You know, we prefer just to share whatever we're doing. You'll see that our YouTube videos, the travel videos, they're not that polished.
They're not going to be.
And they won't be. We made a decision, didn't we, that we were going to enjoy our travels rather than, you know, set cameras up, do this, drone shots, blah, 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 blah. It just, like, it would kill our travels. We would not enjoy it.
Oh, not with kids. Like, it's just crazy. We just want to have the GoPro, take the video that we can when we remember to, and make videos from that, mainly for family. If anyone else wants to watch, they will watch. But yeah, we're not gonna like set up a camera and then drive back past it and all that. And that's how you get your polished videos. But we're not gonna do that. So if you want that, this is not it.
Yeah, that's not it. Sorry. That said, for those of you who are watching and supporting, thank you. So yeah, favourite places. Starting in South Australia, you can go on.
Okay, so we've got Memory Cove. We really like Memory Cove. That was a really
it's
cool
amazing.
spot.
Four-wheel drive access, really cool.
Yeah, and not like there's five sites I think there was, and it was just, we didn't have really warm weather, but it was still like really, really nice. We also like Carrow Wells, and I wanted a Sleaford four-wheel drive track. We like the koala place. What was that called? Mikara.
Yeah, so that's a private property near Port Lincoln that you can stay at, and you can camp in the wild essentially with koalas that we must have counted about 30 or something.
Probably something like that.
And for WA people who have never experienced koalas in the
wild,
wild,
only place we see koalas are at Yanchep National Park, and it's like two in a tree, and you don't hear the noise or anything. But there, they moved around, they hopped on the ground, you could hear them all night, which would be annoying for some people, but we quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was a highlight, I think, for us and the boys. Yeah. And then there was a bunch of other spots in South Australia, like on the Fitzgerald Bay, there was like Queen Bee, I think it was called, Royalty Beach, Swincer Rocks. They were all, camps that we enjoyed.
And then across to the Air, so Black Springs Overflow, no, not the Air, the York.
No, Black Springs, it was Coffin Bay.
Oh man, seriously.
we don't remember half the spots.
If we don't write them down, we would have no idea. Anyway, Black Springs Overflow, you can look up that. In the Flinders, that's an amazing place.
Yeah, that blew us away. I want to go back there. That was really...
definitely. So Parachilna Gorge is good. Arkaroola, really cool. We sort of thought it might be this tourist,
but it was worth it.
But it's so good. Argadells.
We wouldn't have gone there if we didn't tell them what happened.
Well, we just, I helped a guy out that was bogged. They came and found us camped at
Point Brown,
yeah. And we went over there, he's like, oh, my son's bogged and, whatever. So I went around there and all I did was show them how to let the tyres down and, put a few max tracks in and they were out, they were laughing. And he said, I've got a property in the Flinders, come and check it out. So we did, at Argadells, near Corn. That is one of the most amazing places I've ever been in my life. Like, unbelievable four-wheel drive tracks, pristine, water courses and stuff. We did go at a good time of the year.
And they had just shut too, so we had the place to ourselves.
They opened it back up for us. Halls Gap is beautiful. We really liked the inland part of the Great Ocean Road. The Great Ocean Road.
So we've moved on to Victoria now.
Oh yeah.
That was
sorry. So yeah, the Great Ocean Road, that's awesome. But the inland section, probably better, I reckon. And it's like a lot of people miss that. They do the coast and don't do the inland section.
Yeah, they just do the drive, and we done all the like.
We spent about 3 weeks, didn't we?
Yeah,
doing all that.
got off the beaten track a bit. Got to some cheap and some free camps, I think, as well there.
Yeah.
Which most people say there's no free camps along there, but we found a couple.
Oh, there's tons.
So.
So yeah, Victorian High Country, that to date is probably one of my favourite places.
It surprised
awesome.
us. Well, it surprised me, I guess. I didn't think I'd enjoy it so much because I just thought it was going to be all four-wheel drivey, but it was just really nice
so
campsites on rivers and free. Like, most of them are free.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, it's amazing.
And you can have fires in summer, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
us.
So yeah, and then we went up to Queensland. There's some really cool spots around Cowan, free camps. Cape York itself, awesome. Jardine Station, really cool.
Kids, that was the kids' favourite in Queensland.
Heading out to Corumba Way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And then Lake Tinaroo.
That was I think my favourite campsite of everywhere.
Yeah.
That sticks in my mind when you say favourite campsite, Lake Tinaroo. I just really like that.
Absolutely awesome. Finch Hatton Gorge, really beautiful. You can't camp there, but such an amazing walk. Blencoe Falls, that was a really good four-wheel drive track to get there, and then the campsite.
Can't really take a caravan so easily.
No, I wouldn't.
But yeah, something like ours or a camper trailer.
Yeah, you'd go there as long as it's not too wet.
Well, yeah, it was a bit wet when we went.
Yeah.
There's a few little sketchy spots, but we were through fine.
So yeah, then Notch Point is amazing.
Yes.
That's probably Queensland's best free camp, I reckon.
Yeah.
The diggings near Yalunga and the Gorge, which is only an hour out of Brisbane. Nice private property, really beautiful. Yeah, so least favourite places.
Oh, nothing. I don't know. Nothing jumps out. Like we don't really stay in too many.
Yeah,
nice
there's
we do
a
our
handful.
research. We do our research really.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
We have stayed in some average like gravel. Sort of parking bays or whatever.
But not very often. Like, there's only been a small
really.
handful.
Yeah.
And they haven't been horrible. They're just nothing amazing.
Yeah. I didn't really rate like Port Augusta Caravan Park. We stayed in a fairly cheap one there. That was all right. Whyalla.
No, not
Whyalla. Whyalla, we got bad weather, and we were pretty underwhelmed by the jetty. Like it looked better in the photos. Sorry, it is a beautiful place, but I don't know, it just didn't live up to our expectations.
Yeah, and we didn't see the dolphins. Didn't come when we were there or anything. But.
Corumba, long way out. If you're into fishing and that, yeah, we could. If you're not, there's really not that much to do. The Barramundi Centre was pretty interesting and cool.
The prawns we got there were not very nice.
Yeah, but I think we lucked out there anyway.
And one spot, we turned up at a free camp just recently, and then, what was that one called? On the Waterfall Way. And someone said it was amazing, but we went there. We were going to stay 2 nights, but he just didn't do it. I don't know, it had a wrong vibe for me. We got out the car, we pulled up, and this spider landed on the window, and I was just like, no, I just don't like it. Yeah. So we continued on and found a cool extra caravan park.
Yeah, that's right, and stayed 3 nights, that was really good. Yeah. So, yeah, what's gone wrong on our lap? Quite a few things. There's, like, guaranteed things will go wrong, and if you don't have the mindset, like, I don't like it much, but I've kind of learnt that things will go wrong, and you just got to suck it up and deal with it. So, yeah, I jackknifed the camper early on and cracked the bumper of our car, nothing major. We had some reasonable wear issues on our camper trailer, which have been fixed up now, but just from wheel alignment that wasn't right. The inverter in our D-Max, the Renogy 2000 watt one, that failed, broke. We got bogged a couple of times, mainly when we were towing the camper trailer on soft beaches. Our fridge, or the freezer in the camper trailer, that died. A few places we got absolutely hammered by sandflies.
What happened with the car and the Flinders? Remember you kept looking under the bonnet and you had to get a part? Remember that?
Oh, the alternator, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the alternator was squealing pretty badly, and I found a bearing that was a bit crunchy, sort of re-greased it and all that. and ended up just sort of drowning the alternator in water, and it all went away. So I think we'd been driving through, not mud, but just wet roads. So I think it might have flicked some stuff up into the alternator, and damaged, made it unhappy anyway.
You spent ages trying to find a spare one for that, so we've got a spare now.
Yeah, it was really hard to do because that is like the logistics of travelling are quite a pain. I rang Isuzu, they had one, and that was still a while away, like 700 k's away or something, but they wanted $1,800 for the alternator, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? And then of course trying to match their parts to aftermarket ones when there's a few variants and whatnot is quite difficult. Lucky I managed to get a photo of the actual alternator nameplate. So we did buy another one for $400 or something, an OEX one I think, and it's still sitting in the spare parts of the car. So yeah, what else? We've had a few instances where sand's blown like terribly.
Mainly the South Australian coast.
Yeah, we were probably a little bit early I think for the South Australian coast, and yeah, it was a bit cool and a bit windy. But yeah, it is what it is. So we had the cap on the front of our camper pop off one day, and 3 poles fell out while we were driving, and spent ages trying to find them. We couldn't find the poles. I think someone's picked them up, but we did find the cap.
Thankfully.
What else?
With Sunday cruise, we got horrible weather. The worst weather you could ever get the whole time. Like not one nice day at all. Like it was just feral the whole time.
And we booked that 6 or 7 months in advance or something. Was it May?
We did it in May. No, April. End of April.
End of April. So we probably should have done it later. But yeah,
we couldn't because that's when family was going to be over there and...
Yeah, so it was, 50 to 60 k/h winds the whole time.
Yeah, and rain and wind. Yeah, we said wind, yeah.
We couldn't go on the east side of the islands because of, they wouldn't let you with the hired yacht.
Like all Whitehaven Beach and stuff, you couldn't get on that side.
No good. So our biggest failure though is the inner guard cracking. The year model that we've got, 2012 to about 2019, a lot of the D-Maxes end up with cracked inner guards around where the battery is, or the nameplate. And we picked up a few little cracks early on, and then it let go in a big way out near Rockhampton and broke our aircon and everything. So Isuzu were really good about it. Difficult to deal with in moving the claim around and whatnot, but once we got it rolling in Brisbane, we just pulled up at families in the Sunshine Coast, which couldn't have worked out better. But we were 7 weeks we had to wait for it to be looked at, quoted, approved, and then the panel beaters to start on it and fix it.
But that was pretty quick from what we had heard. They had one car and it had taken 16 weeks from when the claim went in to when it got finished, so that would have been a nightmare. And
Isuzu covered all that. It would have been...
And a hire car.
Yeah, probably would have been 13 grand worth of damage, including the hire car. Pretty unbelievable. And then, what else did we have? Oh, we had rats. Recently get into the engine bay, and they chewed the coolant outlet hose from the turbo. Lucky I picked it up pretty early on with the ultra gauge. But that could have been pretty bad. Had a hose and fixed it, and we sorted all that out, but it was pretty annoying at the time. What do we love about travelling?
What do we love? So I love no alarm clocks, cruisy mornings, except when we're packing up to go to the next camp, because Aaron likes to just rush.
Sarah gets upset because I always want to hook the car up.
He has this thing. So the kids have a thing that if they know it's moving day, they want to get in the car really quick. Aaron has this thing that he wants to hook up the camper, straight away. And I'm just just chill. So it's me and then it's those 3. But anyway, just chilling. I can sit, relax, have my cup of tea, and then I can go and have my breakfast and we just chill. We don't have to rush unless we want to go out somewhere. And then,
you go.
Just do whatever we want to do. If we feel like going for a walk, we can go for a walk. If we want to have a day where we do nothing, we can have a day that we're doing nothing. We don't have anywhere to be, or sometimes you get back to your home and there's always these commitments and you've got to be here and you've got to be there and it's all on time. We don't have that. You
Yeah,
just do whatever.
it's been a crazy change of pace, hasn't it? Like from
Yeah.
working long hours and yeah, it was pretty full on back in Perth. So yeah, a lot of free time to do what we want. A lot of time to spend with the kids. You know, watch them grow, help them learn stuff, teach them. You know, it's amazing what they pick up when you're travelling. It's pretty cool. So yeah, and then obviously the amazing places. Like, man, we've been to some unbelievable spots.
Yeah.
And I reckon the places that you go that you don't
Expect to be nice.
yeah, they're the best. They're the ones that you really have a lot of fun with. And then four-wheel drive tracks. Like, we've done some pretty cool four-wheel drive tracks.
And nothing serious, like it's more like nice, scenic, tiny bit challenging, but
yeah. We're pretty cautious.
Enjoyable.
Like, we live out of this, so we, you know, happy to do the four-wheel drive tracks definitely, but nothing that's going to
damage
tip
the
our car over or whatever. We've met some pretty awesome people, and one of the things that I have really enjoyed recently as well is catching up with family. So we've got, you know, a whole heap of family spread all over the place, and being able to sort of let them know that you're coming into their area, and then catch up over a weekend. Like, we've stayed at quite a few
3 different families recently.
Yeah, we've just caught up with them over the weekends and that. It's been unbelievable, really cool.
And they're people that when we're back at home we barely ever see because they live over here, we live over there.
Yeah.
But you go there and it's like a family. Like, you just.
Yeah, that's right. And you don't get, like, you can fly over and see them, but it's not the same as being sort of independent, camping on their front lawn. You know, coming and going whenever suits them and suits you. Like, it's just been really cool, really good. One thing I will say is I think you really have to be mindful of your perspective, hey? Like, once you've been travelling for a while, it's very easy to take things for granted.
Or just become mundane, sort of like.
Yeah, and you don't appreciate, like the example we were talking about the other day is these big lace monitors that run around everywhere. Like, if we had seen them in WA, you would be over the moon. Anytime you saw one, you'd be following it around, you know, watching it, having heaps of fun. But now, like, we see them every campsite. They're just everywhere. Like, heaps of them. And we barely even react anymore.
Used to be like, quick, get the camera, get the GoPro, kids, look. And now it's just like, another one.
Yeah. So, and I think, I mean, it's probably applicable to life in general, but you can very easily lose the appreciation for what made you travel. And we've heard from a number of people that if you pull up to work or you stop for a while, you know, you regain that perspective. You sort of learn again that, wow, it is awesome travelling, and you appreciate the moments. Like, you don't want to. Yeah, it's pretty easy to take them for granted.
And then want something else. Like, people, like, they've dreamt about is being on the road. They're on the road for 6 months, and then suddenly they're dreaming about going home again. And it's just a typical human thing. Like, you want what you don't have.
Yeah.
Try to enjoy what you've got right now, wherever you are.
Yeah. So, least favourite parts of travelling. I don't know. Some days go pretty well when we're moving, but the moving days can be pretty stressful, especially if we've got lots to do.
If we've got shopping, we got fuel, we got water, you got dump point, you got rubbish, like, and if you got a little bit of a way to travel, like, it just.
Yeah, it can be.
Everyone gets stressed, and if it's warm.
Yeah, it can be a pretty full-on day. What else? The kids, you know, obviously you have your issues with them. That's probably our least favourite stuff, dealing with it. But to be honest, you'd be doing it at home as well. I think, like, travelling probably makes it a bit more difficult in the fact that you're close together, and you can hear every fight that your kids have. Like, they're not down in a bedroom sorting it out amongst themselves or whatever.
Yeah, you got to try not to sort of be a helicopter parent, because they are right in your space. You got to give them the space to deal with their issues.
Yeah. Camping fees. So some of them, I don't know, like, yeah, we've experienced all sorts over Australia. Some of them are reasonable, some of them are absolutely not reasonable.
Well, to us, they're not reasonable.
Yeah, I mean,
there might be good reasons behind it, but it doesn't seem like it's not worth it.
The hip camp prices around here in particular, in Sydney,
ridiculous.
You know, some of them are like $100 a night.
120 I was looking last night. I'm just for nothing, like, just like a patch of grass. I'm just like, not us. Good. Not gonna happen.
No good. So yeah, we also don't like bad weather, and you can do your best to follow the weather, absolutely.
But you're always going to get bad weather.
You will get it. You will get wind. You will get rain. You know, you'll get blown away at times.
You'll get really hot weather.
Yeah.
Like
yesterday was
43 degrees.
It was cooking,
We
and
died.
we went down to the pool because we were absolutely dead. Like it was just killing us.
Yeah. We stayed there from like 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock nearly. Like we just stayed in the pool.
Not nice at all. The washing for us is a bit of a problem. We don't have we've got a bodgy old manual washing machine. I bought a proper washing machine, a Kamek one, according to the dimensions it was supposed to fit in the back, and it didn't. So we had to put it back, had to return it. But yeah, washing for us is a bit of a pain.
But it's mainly only when the kids have a bad accident.
Yeah.
Other than that, we can sort of handle doing hand washing or whatever. But it's just when there's a wee accident and you need that bedding to be dry for the next night, and it's hard to wash.
Particularly when it's cold.
Yeah, but our bucket doesn't fit the sleeping bag in properly. Really, it's so hard to wash. If we had if the bucket was a bit bigger and you could sort of and you had access to water, it'd be fine. But it's just we've got nothing quite big enough to be able to wash it really well. We wash it and it doesn't stink or anything, but it's just a pain.
Or we go to the laundromat.
Yeah.
Which if it's hot and we can't be bothered, that's usually what we do.
Or if it's cold and it's raining and it's not going to dry.
Yeah.
Or if we've got a whole heap of washing and we're near going through a town, then we'll be like, okay, that's what we're going to do.
So how has our setup been working?
It suits us to a T. It's perfect for us. I couldn't imagine really doing it in anything else that we've not seen anyway, because we can take it where we need to take it, where we want to take it, without damaging it, without having to go really slow or worrying about tracks that you can't go down because your caravan's too high or too wide.
Yeah, so I mean, I did spend a lot of time looking at both campers and cars and then how we set it up, and I think that has paid off definitely. As Sarah said, it suits our way of travelling really well, and we're very happy with it. We had the D-Max for 5 years before we did our lap, and the camper for 3, and we did quite a few mods to the car, and a little bit to the camper, not too much. But yeah, no, it suits us really well. Rightio, another little break to pay the owner here. This is a good spot. So we're staying, I don't think we mentioned that, we're staying at Drover's Rest.
Is it Drover's Rest?
Just Drover's
Drover's Camp.
Drover's Camp. I don't know. We'll put a description.
It's Drover's Camp.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the camper and the D-Max, we haven't found anything else that would do what we want it to, in terms of size and weight, off-road ability, and then comfort and price, which is a big one. So yeah, we did pretty well. We probably timed it quite well in buying it, but it does what we want it to really well, and we would have to spend a huge amount of money to get anything better or more comfortable. So of course we looked at getting a caravan. We were at the limits on the D-Max, and you would not be able to tow an off-road van legally with our D-Max. So then you'd have to get a new tow vehicle, and
And we looked at getting a new tow vehicle. When we had the problems with the inner guard with the D-Max, we looked to see if there was anything else that we
mega money.
wanted, but we decided that
it wasn't worth it. So I mean, we're pretty honest. The camper was 51 grand second hand back in 2019 probably.
Yeah.
And the car total build cost was like 60,000. So 110 grand for our travel setup. You would pay that for a tow vehicle today that can tow an off-road van and is set up, in a similar way. And then you've got to buy a caravan as well, which is
another 100
nearly that sort of money as well, or more.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course there are things that we don't like about the camper. The outdoor toilet and the shower, it works. It's not something that we love.
It would be amazing to have something inside, but the size camper we got, you're never going to get it. So
yeah,
it's Live with it.
Our outdoor kitchen, we love that except for when the weather's bad.
Wind or rain. Like, and wind's not so bad unless it's sandy, like beach or something.
Yeah, because we've got the induction cooking.
Yes.
That's why. If you didn't have induction, that would be a
annoying.
nightmare. We've got tons of power and water, so yeah, 300, well, about 350 litres of water is what we carry, and yeah, 570 amp hour lithium total plus 920 watt of solar. So we're pretty self-sufficient from that perspective. Overall, I don't know, we're really happy with it. We like the setup. It wouldn't work for a lot of people. But yeah,
Works for us.
We're
not
a lot of
most people.
Yeah, and you know what? That's at the end of the day, that's what's most important. If it does what you need it to, then you've got the right setup. What else? Oh, the washing machine. Yeah, if we had a washing machine, that'd be great, a better one. But we don't.
Again, we can live with it. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't cause us that much of a problem. It's just a bit of elbow grease.
Yeah, and the awning. I don't like our awning. It's a rope edge one that you've got to slide along the top. Really good and strong, but you know, it takes time. It's not on there all the time, so you've got to pull it out, keep it dry. It's quite heavy to put up there, especially with your bad back.
But I mean, it doesn't take us that long to get it up.
No.
10 minutes and it can be up completely. It's just annoying if, like, when you turn up in the middle of the day and it's like hot.
Yeah,
and
it's hot. And when the camper takes, 60 seconds to set up, and then you spend 10 times that putting the awning up, it's like, oh, come on. And when you're moving all the time, not that great. So I don't think we can get anything better for our current situation without spending a heap extra money. And even then, I haven't seen any hybrids that I really think, that'd be better.
Not that can get towed anyway without.
Yeah, and if they are better, they're much bigger and heavier.
Way more expensive.
Yeah.
And often you can't find one that has a seat. Like the smaller of the ones, you can't find something that has a seat in it as well as the other stuff.
The bunks. That was a prerequisite, so we could sit in there and
at night time. Aaron needs a seat to be able to sit on inside.
So yeah, a lot of the seating converts into bunks, which is no good for us. Injuries and sketchy moments.
Cooper, most of them, not most of them. If it's a person, it involves Cooper pretty much. He Kimber was on the jumping pillow with Aaron, and
that was my fault though, really. Like I shouldn't have been. If you're an adult, don't go on a jumping pillow with kids. Seriously, it's not worth it. Or if you do it carefully. I was bouncing and we must have mistimed it. I think I was sort of going up as he was coming down, and all the air pummeled his leg when it was straight, and he let out a scream that I never heard from him
You could tell
before.
something was wrong.
Yeah, so went to the doctors, and then they sent us to the emergency, and he couldn't walk on it for, it was about 3 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, it took like 3 weeks to get mostly better, and he was what's the word, traumatized by it, because for like months, not so much now, anytime he would fall over, he'd be like, my knee, and any little tiny cut it'd be like it was going to be major pain, even though it wasn't. He was scared and reacted like the same. So yeah, that was really hard because you had to carry him everywhere. Like, he couldn't walk at all.
Not
we didn't have a pram or anything. We were starting to look to try and find a little stroller thing that we could push him around a bit in, because like that whole, was it York Peninsula? No, we're doing the York. Like that whole first part of the York was really hard because he just couldn't walk.
So yeah, and he ended up in the hospital with I don't know whether it was an ear infection or something. They sort of looked at it and cleared him, and that was okay.
But yeah, he'd had a bad night up heaps, crying with his ears.
You've had issues with your back.
Yeah, I always have issues with my back. I've just got to be really careful.
Sarah's got scoliosis and it's cooked. Absolutely
bad
stuffed.
discs and all that, so I just got to be very careful.
Yeah. I stacked it up at Blanco Falls, just walking along the rocks. Like I was telling the kids, be careful, don't slip over, bang. And I hurt my ribs and ended up with a pretty swollen ankle and that.
I was back at camp and I got two little boys who come back to me and they're like, Dad's fallen over, he's really hurt. I'm like, oh my goodness, because we were at like the most...
Yeah, quite remote, drivey.
Yeah, like for me, if I had to drive to get out of there, like I would not have, I don't know, I would have just, I don't know, I don't want to think about it.
Anyway, I hurt myself a few times cutting wood, and then lots of splinters and cuts and abrasions from everyone except for you, isn't it?
Because I'm so careful, because of my back, I can't risk stuffing it up more than what it is.
Yeah.
So I just am very cautious with lots of things.
So yeah, we've been bogged a few times towing the camper, mainly on the sand.
Nothing major, like we can get out.
Nah, easy enough.
Pretty
Let
quickly.
tyres down, max tracks.
The longest one was Blue
Yeah. When I decided, no, I'd be alright. Won't let my tyres down. Yeah, good move. Anyway, we did. The hybrid is funny. The more places you can take a camper, the more of a pickle you end yourself in. We got it pretty badly wedged between trees in Victoria, checking out a campsite. And it took us like an hour to get out.
Yeah, that was the worst.
It was such a nightmare. Couldn't. We could drive in, but couldn't swing around and get out.
And I'm not very good at directing, like telling Aaron like which way to put the thing. And he's like, if I keep going, is it gonna? I'm like, I don't know. Just go slow, and I'll tell you if it's gonna hit.
Yeah. So yeah, nearly lost the drone a couple of times. I put it up the other day, and it was at like 60% battery, and then it said critical battery level landing, like about, I don't know, 20 seconds later. So we've had a few things like that go wrong. A couple of close calls on four-wheel drive tracks, where we could have done damage.
On the Cape York.
Yeah.
At a bridge, at a single lane bridge we had right away, and we were about to go.
I think we were rolling, yeah, and a whole heap of cars came around the corner and they didn't stop. So I sort of slammed the skids on and they did as well.
And they nearly ended up on the back of each other. They nearly
crashed into each other.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then of course the rats, we're pretty lucky that we didn't do major damage to the motor. Picked it up early enough, hopefully. So regrets, do we regret anything? Not really. There's little stuff when it's really cruddy weather or whatever, the joy of sitting at home in the couch in the aircon, or
I miss my couch.
Whatever, yeah. Or when the kids are a pain, I will say it is a bit weird for if you've been working all your life and then you leave that behind. There's a huge chunk of your life, the purpose of your life, that sort of disappears. And I think it's easy for you to think that you're not doing anything of value, but when you stand back and you actually look at what you're doing for your kids and for your family and that, I think you just got to rechannel that sort of purpose into that side of things. You definitely are doing a lot of valuable things for your family and that, and it's nice to have a break. What else did I put down? Flying from Sydney. So yeah, because the car broke down, we probably could have flown out of Brisbane instead.
There would have been enough to do between Rockhampton and Brisbane that would have kept us occupied.
Yeah, so instead we legged it down to Sydney basically.
So we have missed a bit of the New South Wales stuff between Brisbane and Sydney.
Yeah.
But we also couldn't get into a lot of the camp spots, along the coast on the weekends is just
it's crazy.
A nightmare. You got to. That's things I guess that you have to pre-book, and we don't do that, so we just have to miss those spots.
Yeah, or take
miss camping.
What's available. Yeah. So yeah, overall it's been absolutely awesome. Had a heap of fun. We don't have any plans to stop anytime soon, and I don't think that we would change too much. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this part one. Part two, we're going to go into the costs. Yeah, that's about it. So thanks for following along. Let us know if you've got any questions. Leave a comment, whatever you want.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Subscribe.
All that stuff. Rightio.